And of course, they start choosing their favorites. They choose. And then when now you are left there and nobody wants to pick you. And you're standing there and they're arguing amongst themselves, take her. And this, they're saying, hi, I don't want her. Hi, she's going to make me lose whatever. And then eventually one of them say, hi, what, man, Wendy, come join us. And all of those things, they form in your subconscious mind that when you're not liked and whatever. So unconsciously or consciously, you tell yourself, the day I have money, I'm going to buy love. I'm going to show them that I'm lovable. So when you work, at the back of your mind, you are amassing all this wealth, but for the wrong reasons, not for generational impact, but for individual impact. And so we call you the big shot. And so what you do is that you go out there to say, I've got money, I'll flaunt it, I'll show it. And I'll show you that money can buy love. And so you kind of like start gifting people things because you are expecting love in return. So that's an archetype. So you are using money for the wrong reasons.
Welcome to UPPA Conversations, Unleash Purpose and Prosperity in Africa, where we explore how you and I can help shift Africa from poverty to prosperity, one person, one family, and one community at a time. Okay, so it's time for me to talk to our honorable guest, Wendy Selebi. Wendy is someone that I grew up. Yo, when was it, Wendy? So I can't even count, but it's so long ago. We have known each other for a long time, and she is called Uma Wens. She is called Wendy. Is just that one person who is so vibrant, always vibrant. She is a former executive in banking. She is a financial literacy mentor, having specialized, taking the message of financial literacy to townships, to rural areas, to schools. She has done it all. She currently has a business called, what's it called, Wendy?
East
A
to forest.
mentorship coaching. Yes, yes. And she is a believer. She's currently doing her studies in theology. She is with Grace Bible Church, and she has written this wonderful, wonderful book that she's going to tell us about. I have it. I wish I had it here with me. Actually, I'll go and get it before we close. I left it on my on my thingy. She's The book is I Wish Someone Had Told Me. It's a wonderful book. I read it and I was like, oh, okay. Because I know Wendy. And she has a podcast called Let's Talk Money with Wendy Selebi.
Good morning to everyone. I'm really excited that we're going to have this conversation. I really liked Uvuvu's introduction around her vision, around her purpose, which really connects with mine because it's all about, empowering those that come after us so that they can learn from the mistakes that we've made and they can begin to be generational more than what we were, in the thinking, in how they do things. And you are in the right space with the right company. And I'm so excited that, we're going to have this conversation. And I just want to premise everything on what you said, Vuvu. The scriptures talks about Proverbs 13:22 talks about how a good man leaves an inheritance for his children and his children's children. And that's what we are all about today.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Wendy, so um, I want to start with you speak in your book about archetypes. What is that?
So, the archetypes really talk about the relationship that we have with money. You can call them archetypes or money scripts. And these are born from the time that we are growing up at home. Our parents influence the relationship that we will have with money. What we hear others say and see others doing also has an impact. And that then shapes the way that we think and engage with money. That's why we call them our archetypes. Vuvu, you spoke about how you used to accompany your grandmother Ezola selling ama-doilies. And I'm hoping the people that are online know what even a doily is. Ngoba thina sabantu bakudala. Eh, and you learned entrepreneurship from her. She didn't necessarily sit you down and say, "My child, what I'm doing is generational wealth in no, you saw what she was doing, you observed, and then your outlook and your relationship with money was shaped by that. That's why we are here today. And so our parents play a pivotal role in how we relate with money is shaped. When we were growing up, when you ask your parents for money, they would always say, "Hey, we don't have money. Do you think money grows on trees?" And so in your mind, you have this thing, Yoguti, money is not easily accessible and things like that. And our parents were wrong. Money does grow from trees because trees come from paper and paper comes from the tree. You know what I mean? So the second thing is that when you are a child, you listen to what your parents are saying, you watch what they are doing. If they'll forever be fighting about money, your attitude or your relationship or your archetype about money is being shaped without you being unaware. So it lodges in your subconscious mind. The other thing is where we come from, our context shapes um, our relationship with money. If as a child you are growing up, I relate with this psychologist, and she shares a story of how when she was growing up, they were so poor at home. They were the only ones that were not aware that they are poor. But as you would know, kids would make them aware that they are poor, etc. And one day she was sitting under the tree and she thought, you know what? When I grow up, I'm going to study. I will never, ever be this poor. Actually, I'm going to travel the world. And it's something that she thought about as a little girl, and it shaped her whole outlook. In a year, I think she does 6 or 7 countries right now. She works so hard so that she never ever is poor. All of those shape your money archetype. And there's 8 of them, but I'll just touch on 1 or 2. And I want to go back to us when we were growing up. Tina, we used to play in the streets. We used to play party, diketo, gusha, and all of that. And you would see Elokshin, maybe there's 20 of you. And when you are playing as kids, there's always the ones who are steering, the ringleaders. And then they get, if you are playing against each other, then this one will, with the ringleader, then you all stand there and they start choosing people. And of course, they start choosing their favorites. They choose. And then when now you are left there and nobody wants to pick you, and you're standing there and they're arguing amongst themselves, take her. And this, they're saying, hi, I don't want her. Hi, she's going to make me lose whatever. And then eventually one of them say, hi, what, Wendy, come join us. And all of those things, they form in your subconscious mind that when you're not liked and whatever. So unconsciously or consciously, you tell yourself, the day I have money, I'm going to buy love. I'm going to show them that I'm lovable. So when you work, at the back of your mind, you are amassing all this wealth, but for the wrong reasons, not for generational impact, but for individual impact. And so we call you the big shot. And so what you do is that you go out there to say, I've got money, I'll flaunt it, I'll show it. And I'll show you that money can buy love. And so you kind of like start gifting people things because you are expecting love in return. So that's an archetype. So you are using money for the wrong reasons. And that's how, it shapes how you are creating wealth. You are creating wealth for yourself and not for anyone else. For example, the lady that I just gave an example of, you can either spend the money a lot or you can hoard it, because now we call you a penny pincher. Ngesilokishini sithi ungoqo. You are tight-fisted. You engage with money from a point of fear. Guti, I don't ever want to experience what I experienced as a child. So when you have money, you are good at creating it. You've got lots of it, but you hold on to it. You don't want to spend it because you are operating from a fear. So you can't even help anyone. You can't even contribute towards the poor, towards the alleviation of poverty, or helping the widow, the widowers, because you are holding on to it. You're thinking, if I give it to them, what happens to me? So all of that, all of those archetypes or manuscripts shape who we are. I mean, there's 8 of them. I won't be able to get through to them. I'm the one, I'm not even ashamed to share. I'm the one that they call the carer. And these are people whose slogan is, I'll borrow, I'll beg, just to help you. I'll help you even to my disadvantage. We've got this heart to say, I won't see my brother or my sister go hungry. Mara, the way we overdo it, it's to our own detriment. And I think the question that carers like myself should ask ourselves is, why are we such people pleasers? What is it at the back of our minds that make us to want to give up our own financial freedom for others, and then make disadvantage our children and our families? Because Amakera, the way that they are is that people know you. By the way, all these archetypes I'm talking about, and all of you online have got an archetype. If you are not aware of it, others are aware of it, and they use it for their own gain. So people know, good Wendy, I can phone her on Friday and give her a sob story and say, Wendy, my house is being repossessed on Monday. Mina and my children, we're going to be in the street. Can you please borrow me 40,000? And then they go home and they sleep peacefully the whole weekend because they know on Monday, Wendy will be there before 10 o'clock with the 40,000. What happens to when you are running amok from Friday night, having sleepless night, trying to think which investment can I get out quickly to help this person? They know you are a banker, they know you know the strategies, you know how to get this money. And true to form, on Monday, 9 o'clock, we are there with the money, which you will never see again because you also don't know how to ask for your money back. So these are just three of the archetypes that are there. There's 8 of them. I'll share the link if people want to take
Yeah,
the
please do.
quiz and know, because this has got a huge impact on how you create wealth, whether you will be able to create generational wealth or you won't be able to
Mm,
create it. And then the last one is the
mm,
Bible, where
mm,
people misrepresent or misinterpret the scripture that says the love. Futhi
mm,
another version, it is the excessive love of money is the root of all evil. Tina sifunda wrong city, money is the root of all evil. So you grow up not wanting to have money because you're afraid Guti money will
mm,
corrupt you. Ganti, we can't live without money. Money is the currency that makes things love. If you're willing
mm,
to kill, to destroy others for you to be successful, then it's the root of all evil.
mm. Wow. Talking about how, so I grew up. You see, my grandmother, even though she was a hustler, but I grew up. So there are two things that two issues with money that I grew up with. Firstly, I was raised to be happy without money, and I appreciate that because for me it links to contentment. I can be happy with money or without money, but there is something that I had to learn. I had to learn to be happy with money. Okay, so I was taught to be happy without money. Well, happy, yes, happy without money. Now I had to learn to be happy with money. So that's one thing that I would like to share with
Yeah.
um our guests. But there's another that happened, and I had to really work at it for me to be comfortable with money. And that is, so you know what you said, when parents fight over money. So there would be times where I would go to my father for money, and he would say, "Ay, hamba kumama, go to your mother." And I would go to my mother, and she would say, "Ay, go to your father." And now I would be like, "Now, what do I do? Because whatever it is, I need." But now I'm stuck because I can't go there, I can't go there. And fortunately, that thing of being happy without it helped me at that time. So I had to unlearn. And maybe what we need to ask our guests, ask them, Guti, learned from your family about money. So please share in the chat, what lesson have you learned about money? Whether it's a good lesson or a lesson that is not so good. What lesson have you learned from your family about money? Because that's just the foundation. It's part of the archetype that the scripts that are playing in our mind. So what do we say to someone who is, let's start with someone who has not even earned anything, abozano uzano no sianda, they are in their 20s, they starting, Uzano is completing his IT degree. He's just started his acting career. So they are just starting. What what advice? Because in your book, in that lovely, you've got, and that workbook tells you that when you are at this age, this is the advice when you're at this age. This is the advice when you're at this age. This is the advice. What would you like to say to Uzano, who is like you when I remember in your book when you say, when you went to where, oh, all you cared about was Gucci when you had to sign the contract. All you cared about was how much are they going to pay me so that I can buy shoes. What do you say to Usianda Nozano and everyone who is that age?
Yeah.
Just finishing off studies, university, and now going into the work.
Yeah. Look, look, I think I want to backtrack 40 and start from, because one of the things that Tina abantu abamnyama, black people, have missed about generational wealth creation
Mm,
that the white people have mastered
mm.
is that the life stages begin when a child is born,
So
between 0
true.
and 16.
Yes.
What they do when a child is born, as soon as they've given the child a name and the child has got an ID number, they go to the bank, they open a unit trust,
Mm,
probably R100, and
mm,
they have a recurring debit order and they forget about it. This money grows while the child is developing. Lomtana is crawling, is going to crash, is going to primary. Money is growing. The eighth wonder of the world, called compounding interest, is working in their favor. When they turn 18 and they go to university, they're a millionaire. They didn't do anything. It's just from the one thing that the parent did at the beginning of their life stage. And they didn't even tell them about it. And I saw this when my daughter was doing her matric. I mean, and I will just mention that I do drive a Mercedes, but it's not. And when I went to fetch my daughter at school, I was shook. Young boys of 18 were driving the best Mercedes Benz you can think of. And I asked my daughter, I said, ask your friend, how did he buy this? And they shared this. So, generational wealth creation starts when a child is born. So, to all those who are online, when you have your first child, or even if you have them now, you can go back and do this. That's what you do to give them a kickstart in life that they too will pass on. That's how you create a generational a legacy. And then even in that life stage, you can add on. I have my niece. She's got two young ones. They come and visit. I don't like them coming to visit because when they come, they mess up my house. It's toys everywhere. And I thought, how do I teach these kids about money and just cleanliness? So I took two clean jars. I put them in the kitchen. I put their names, Una, Atli. And when they came, I said to them, you know what? When you come here, you mess up my house. But after you've played, before you go to bed, if you pack your toys, Gogo will give you paper money because they are at that stage where they understand paper money. So they would play, and in the evening they did that day one, and they said, Gogo, where's the paper money? So I took 10 rands and 10 rands, put it in the jar. And I said, if you do that tomorrow, and they did that. When they left, I said, let's look at the paper money. They said, oh, it's a lot, Gogo. When we come back again. And that's how you teach kids the value of money. One of the things that we don't do well is to teach children the value of money, that money has to be worked for and earned, and it can't just be given. And even this is a principle that will help them in future, even when you leave them an estate or something, they will have that mindset. So these kids have grown up, they know the value of money. You work, first you work, you earn it, then it grows. So as they've been coming, and so they push all the time, please take us to Gogo's house, because in Gogo's house there's money, there's paper money, there's paper money. So I'm like their bank. And when the money had filled up, I said, okay, take them to the bank, open accounts for them, introduce the banking system, let them know that you don't take the money and eat it. You're introducing savings in a simplified manner. You put it there, and as the money grows, you show them. Now, once you've done that, when they go into the age Yagazano and them, they already, in Sianda, they already know that money has got value and stuff like that. When they start working, when they enter the workspace, in their minds, they know, Uguti, I must save something. So they start work already knowing that you don't eat everything, you put something away, because they saw it as a child. And so in that life stage, they already know, I must save. I must budget. They might not put it in these terms, but they know, Gucci, I must split the money somehow and have a portion that I box and have a portion that I put away. And so they start, and of course, in this stage, life stage, 16 to about 25, 30, then they begin to think about, while I'm here, then they'll probably, when they go and seek for advice, then they'll be told, good, you actually need to invest, you actually need to have this and have this and have this and have this and have that, then they grow with this. So as they get married, they know about this. When their children are born, they do the same for their children. And so the generational wealth creation has started in a simple way that is introduced by us, the parents. And I want to say the power of parents introducing financial literacy to their kids can never be underplayed.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. That is so interesting. So, I mean, learn to save. You hear people saying, Oguti, um, no, I am too little, I can't save. That is not true.
Uh-uh.
That is not true. It is not about how much. Because if you can't save little, even the Bible says, if you can't save after the little that you have, how can God trust you with more?
Yeah.
How can God trust you with more? So it is about the discipline. It is about the mindset and the discipline to be able to say, for whatever I have, let me save. And it is always recommended save 10%. You,
Yeah.
you will decide, but save something, save 10%. And I mean, talking about saving, maybe we can talk about tithing as well, because that is part of God's economy. And some people, you'd hear some people say, oh, I'm going to tithe to give people money. Now they don't understand what tithing is about.
Yeah. You know what? Vuvu, I want to say that savings, wealth creation is a psychology.
Mm,
And it's a psychology that one needs to work on to also, like you said, you had to
mm,
unlearn to live without money and to
mm,
learn to live with money in a
mm,
responsible manner. And so saving and investment and wealth creation is a psychology. if you have if you are saving from a point of fear,
Mm,
your journey is filled with fear.
mm,
And you're going to make a lot of money mistakes because you are not operating from positive psychology, but
mm,
from negative. If you're anxious, sometimes we leave investing and saving for retirement late. I often hear people say, "Hey, Mama, when I'm still young, I'm enjoying my life. I'll start when I'm 30." And I'm like, when you're 30, you're too late, Baba.
mm,
Or you have 20 years and you are going to be in trouble. And when people come to that realization, they become anxious. And so now their wealth creation journey is born from anxiety. And because of the anxiety, they make many, many mistakes. Like they fall prey to things like your get rich quick schemes because they realize, Guti, yo, I'm late. Let me try and find things that can accumulate. And then one of the things that behavioral science talks about, and there's many behavioral science principles, but I want to talk about this one called present bias. Present bias says that I prioritize the now versus the future. Because the truth of the matter is, I have needs now. So why tell me about an event like Uzano can say, I'm 18. Why are you talking about when I'm 63? I mean, hello. I've got needs now. I want to buy a car. I want to buy a house. I want a wife. I want a holiday. I want this. So present bias makes you to prioritize the immediate needs, instant gratification
ish.
versus prioritizing long-term needs. So you can do both, by the way, still have your instant gratification things while still prioritizing your long-term goals. So the issue here is to then balance them out. And of course, I'm sure all of us here online have heard about those smart goals, where
Mm,
you kind of like have your short term goals, your medium term goals, and your long term goals. And by the way, you can do all three at the same
same
time
time.
so that you don't feel, there's also something that they call loss aversion in behavioral science, so that you don't feel a sense of loss, because a lot of people also feel a sense yokuthi I'm losing out. If I'm saving, I'm losing. If I save the money, then I won't participate in the upcoming Black Friday. And so you want to kind of prioritize, that present bias right now. So those are the things. And then just to come to what you were saying about savings, I say to people, I demystify it and say, you can start with as little as 50 rands to save.
Yes.
50 times 12 is 600 rands plus a little interest. When you start the new year, you're not where you were before. And that becomes your motivator, because let's say hypothetically you start the next year at 700, motivates you to say, how? Yeah, 50 rand, I got to 7. So it means if I can add another 20, then I can get to 9 or maybe another 50, etc. So for as little as 50 rands, you can kickstart your savings journey. And when you see the money grow, then you are able to move now to the investment phase. And I also simplify it so much to say, once you have 1,000 rand, by the way, you can call yourself an investor, because you can take it and put it in a 12 months fixed deposit. And it gives you a lot of interest. So please do something. I love
That's
saying
somewhere.
that when you hear the message today, don't wait for tomorrow. Do something today. If you
And start
haven't started your savings journey, all you need is 50
mm,
bucks. Yeah,
$50.
50 bucks.
Wendy, I really want to just go back to the biases that you have and share, Uguti. i i poverty mindset. It is that mindset that tells us, Guti, no, I do not have enough.
Mm.
It is that mindset that tells us, no, I cannot do this. I do not. I need to survive. And once you break free from that survival mindset, then it's only then that you can start building prosperity. But you have to break free from that survival mindset first, because the survival mindset is, as you have said, it comes from fear
Yeah.
of not, that there is not abundance. And I'm just wanting to share, Buti, funny enough, you know, God is such a give me this pray every day. Ne? And what does that mean? That means much as we plan ahead, we need to plan ahead,
Yeah.
but we need to be conscious of the abundance in, because there is always abundance, and we have to shift. There is always like there is money does grow on trees, like you said.
Mm.
Abundance is there, and you can never finish. You can never finish what is available.
Mhm.
So look at what you have for today, and but be aware there is abundance. It is just a mindset. We have to get out of fear, out of that fear mindset, and go into faith, because God never gave us that spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. The sound to plan, the power to be able to delay gratification and say no, no. I have enough. This is what I need today. Tomorrow I can put away for tomorrow, but enough for today. So generational prosperity just needs that change in mindset from us, away from scarcity, because scarcity does not serve us. We can't create generational wealth from a scarcity.
Yeah. And I think Vuvu, I just want to add and say abundance for all of us online is different.
Mm.
My abundance and what abundance means to you, and even our context, and even, like amazinyo wethu, they're not all equal.
Mm.
Some are smaller, some bigger. You can have abundance from the little that you have. I can
Yes.
have abundance from the much that I have. It's really just about how you frame it in your mind and how you accept where you are and work with what you have. And then that is abundance to you. I think the challenge that we have is that we want to compete with one another, to say, Mina, uvungeka ngihlule, uPinky, uPinky, I know her. Yo, I used to work with her. No, then I'm looking for Pinky's abundance, and I will forever fail. But if I can work within what I have and look at it as my abundance and create for others out of it, then I've succeeded.
So true. So true. So true, Sister. I mean, I can't really compare myself with Mutsipe, can I?
Mm-mm.
And,
Yeah.
but I have the abundance, that I have an overflow. I have more than I need. I already have it. I have an overflow for. If you are ready to release the greatness God has placed within you, and you are willing to live your purpose and help Africans prosper intentionally, and impactfully, then you are at the right place. Catch Afritanergy, the transformative, purpose-driven energy of Africa that empowers you and I to prosper where God has called us.